Hey guys. Welcome back. I feel like detective adjusting these lights. Anyway, today, game wise, two approaches. One in the morning, where it was too early in the morning, and it was a funny story because as open it was pretty crap. I just like, excuse me, Pornero shoes. I like your shoes. And bam, you're in. Initially, my voice was projecting that loud because it's early in the morning. But then, as we got to know each other, I found out that he's actually my professor's daughter. I'm like, oh, fuck. I better not mess with this one because, fuck, I want to graduate this year. And yeah, so that was the first one. Just kind of warming up. Second one was on my way on lunch break. Just kind of talking to this girl. It's like, bam. No judgment. I feel like when I'm talking to unattractive girls, I can't really give out compliments because I don't feel like it, and that's kind of bad because it means you are judging the girl based on their looks. You think they're not a 9 or 10, that means they're not worthy of your attention, which is kind of bad because you're training yourself to really talk to get something instead of talking to give value, and that's a very subtle implication right there. And I was reading one of the posts on the 10 Game Facebook page, and one of the guys was telling people about the disadvantage of porn. He says that if you're watching porn, it makes you very outcome dependent because you're like looking for sex. You don't have the endurance to endure to go through an interaction. All you want is to get to the end. And I've never really thought about it that way. The way I have thought about this was that, by watching porn, jerking off, you lower your sex drive, and so it makes you less needy, but psychologically it does make you more needy, I guess. Even though biologically you don't really feel that need to fuck. Anyway, that's about game wise for today. It's sometimes hard when you're working 8 hours per day and all you think about is your work. And when you finish work, or when you're on a lunch break, or when you're in a social situation, you gotta snap back into that kind of offering value, fun mode, where you just talk about anything and it doesn't really matter what you talk about. And this is a habit you have to get into. I mean, I think I've been doing this every day for the past probably almost 2 months. And some days, sure, it doesn't really work. Some days, sure, I just want to get it over with. But I've gradually come to realize that this is something that you have to develop yourself. I mean, whenever you're scanning around the environment, it doesn't matter whether you're walking down the street or whether you're in a nightclub, in a bar. If you're scanning around the environment and you're looking for girls to open, and that means that you're not very grounded in your reality and you're not really creating a party and draw the girl in. And that's a very subtle vibe. You have to really practice to get that down. And I remember today's first interaction, I was kind of, going between taking and giving vibe. When you're taking vibe, you're just kind of serious. When you're giving vibe, you're kind of like talking about anything and don't really care if the girl leaves or not. And that leads me into another topic I want to talk about, which is idea of win-win. I mean, if you follow RSD Tyler's video, you'll realize you see the newest video he's posted today about the idea of think win-win instead of trying to take and be an obstacle to the girl's goal. And that kind of and that applies to both within the interaction and overall your life and her life as well in a relationship sort of setting, in a relationship sense. And within an interaction, I mean, I used to do this a lot. Like, you're trying to stop girls when they're walking to work or when they're going somewhere. And actually, that's just not, stopping is just not in, it's just not what she wants to do at that moment. She may very well like you if you spend some time talking to her, but if you try to stop her, if you try to become her obstacle, then she's gonna walk away, or she's gonna blow you out and reject you harshly, simply because it's not win-win for her. And that's what most rejection comes from. It's not because you're not attractive, although that's very subjective. It's mostly because it's not a win-win for the girl. And you always have to think about what's the win for the girl and what's the win for you. And most of the time, a win for you would be to just feel good. Make yourself feel good. That's a win for you. And also at the same time, you have to think if it's going to be a win for a girl. You could say something very obnoxious, something that's very out there that would definitely make yourself laugh. But the girl just like, what? Can't really follow what you're saying. Then when a girl gives you that reaction, you have to slow it down for the girl and kind of just take a step back, kind of chill. And another thing I've realized that works really well when you're talking to a girl is that idea of applying pressure and releasing pressure. And that also means leaning in at times or leaning back, releasing that pressure. And I think the most important thing I have to work on right now is probably to develop this vibe where you're talking to a person and they don't feel the pressure to fill in the gaps in your conversation. I mean, they don't really feel the pressure to, they don't really feel the pressure that you want something. They don't really feel the pressure that they have to give you something, but what's the word? But is it? But damn it, the word. What's that word? But ironically, they will give you the things you want the most. So try this out next time you're out. Just first of all, take a deep breath, then focus on that place within yourself where you can say something to the girl and you don't really need a response. And that's very hard to grasp, and it's not really something you say or do. It doesn't really matter if you're asking a question or not, or you're just making a cold read or statement, because you could definitely make a statement or cold read, but it will come across as, something's a little off. It's not because the words you say, it's because the vibe you're putting out. You're expecting something from the girl. Now, that doesn't mean you just be a nice guy and that anyone, not just the girl, walk over your boundaries. It means that you're very fulfilled within yourself and you don't really need the girl to fulfill you, which is very different from boundaries. Because in order to be fulfilled within yourself, you gotta have boundaries in your life first, and that's very hard to understand because when you do have boundaries in your life, you will tend to try to look for external things to make you feel good. And in order to kind of seek that external validation, either from the girls or anyone else, you will compromise who you are at the core in order to get the validation that you want. And you see that in quote unquote nice guys a lot, because they compromise their purpose in life, their passion, to accommodate the girl, to let the girl walk all over them. And that's why girls have to shit test you. And whenever I get a shit test, I'm like, fuck yeah, bring it on. Like, fun, carefree, passion. I mean, fun, carefree, passion, like, these three ideas has worked really well for me whenever I get a shit test. It's more like it's embrace the fucking shit test. And don't even think logically about this. You don't even need a logical answer to the shit test. It's just say whatever feels good, and don't overanalyze it, because the moment you overanalyze it, that's when, you know, it gets a little weird, because the girl's like teasing you and you're like, I'm not that guy. I'm a very serious guy, or I'm a very funny guy. How can you say I'm not funny? And that's when you show that, you know, you're not the guy she is subconsciously looking for. And I say subconsciously because, you know, you can't really tell if you're attracted to a girl or not. It's mostly just something you pick up on, unless you're very aware. Unless you're doing game, you don't really know why you're attracting to another person. And that's why girls can kiss girls. It's because they get the same physical arousal from the girl, from kissing a girl. The lips, the boobs, the skin, the soft skin, they get aroused, but they don't get the needy attachment from guys. And that's why I can understand why some girls would would become a lesbian. Probably because a girl can understand them more than a guy, and they know that if you become needy, you will lose attraction like that. But, you know, guys know that as well. But it's probably easier for a girl to actually know that this is how a high quality girl feels like. A high quality girl doesn't need a guy to really fulfill them, I guess. Although the feminine core is all about love and relationship. And the funny thing is, a girl can seek love from not just in their partners, also in like pets, dogs, family, and all that. That's why some girls don't get married, because they're getting that from these other avenues. So romantic love just doesn't become that big of a deal in their life. Whereas, and you see this a lot in girls who come from a very broken family. They will usually be very attached to their partner because they've always lacked that kind of stuff in their life. And you know the universal law, you attract what you are, not what you want. And if you're lacking something, if you're lacking love, and you're trying to attract the love you want, you're only gonna attract the love that you don't have. Follow me here. This is very hard to understand. You attract what you are. So another example, let's say one day you're sitting down, you're meditating, and suddenly you have a idea and insights, and either you could share that insights to everyone else, or you could hold on to it and not share it to anyone, and hopefully use it to your own advantage to get ahead of others. But then you realize, but I'm guessing most people will pick the second route because why not? Human nature, you will always do things that will benefit you the most. But what you don't realize is that the universe works in funny ways. This is gonna sound very wishy-washy, but I found that from my own experience, it tends to become very true. When you have a very great idea and you share it with everyone else unconditionally, and what you realize is that the universe will start giving you things that you really want, and you don't even know how that works. And you see this, and you really see this a lot in the world. I'm just trying to find examples. Okay, I'm just gonna say I'm trying to find a very successful example where people share stuff like Android. Why do most people use an Android system? Or I know that Apple has good iPhones, but they're very limited in the way that they develop their apps, whereas Android is an open source system where people can develop their own apps and put it on the market. And that's why most people would actually, I would actually prefer using Android because of the wide variety of apps and different kind of systems they have. Like in Apple, you don't really have a widget, whereas